The truth revealed. Lee Junho's sudden passing leaves Yuna in shock. She can't hold back her tears. What really happened in those final moments? Was it just a tragic accident, or something no one saw coming? As fans around the world reel in disbelief, the woman closest to him, Yuna, is seen breaking down in a flood of tears. Her reaction says it all. Join Red Carpet revealed as we uncover the emotional truth behind this heartbreaking event. Stay with us, you won't want to miss what comes next. The truth revealed. Lee Junho's sudden passing leaves Yuna in shock. She can't hold back her tears. The sun had barely risen on what should have been a quiet morning in Seoul when the unthinkable shattered the stillness. Lee Junho, beloved actor and singer, had been found unresponsive in his overseas hotel room. Within minutes, whispers became headlines. Before noon, fans were refreshing their news feeds in disbelief. And by late afternoon, Yuna, his closest companion, his rumored love, and his anchor, was seen leaving her agency building. Face pale, eyes swollen. Supported by two managers. The woman who once smiled beside him on countless stages couldn't even speak. She didn't have to. The pain was etched into every breath she took. Only days earlier, Junho had posted a cheerful update from Switzerland, where he was filming his upcoming international movie. The post, now eerily silent, showed him leaning against a mountain trail, arms wide open. His caption reading, "Breathe in the moment. Be grateful for today." No one could have imagined that today would be his last. At only 35, Lee Junho was at the height of his career and life. For Yuna, it wasn't just the loss of a colleague. It was the loss of the man she had quietly loved, fiercely supported, and dreamed of spending forever with. While the world knew them as Hallyu royalty, beautiful, poised, untouchable, those close to them saw something much more fragile and real, a bond built on laughter, late-night rehearsals, exchanged books, shared ramen, and silent prayers before stage entrances. They never needed to confirm it publicly. It was in their eyes. Reports from the scene in Geneva confirmed Junho's manager had attempted CPR immediately after finding him unresponsive. Emergency services were called. But despite every effort, Junho was pronounced dead on arrival at the local hospital. The preliminary medical report cites a cardiac-related event, though further details remain private at the family's request. The world froze. Yuna had just wrapped a shoot for a beauty brand when her manager pulled her aside. The moment the words left his mouth, she reportedly collapsed. Staff at the scene recall her whispering repeatedly, "No. No. He promised he'd be home next week." That night, her agency released a short, heart-wrenching statement. Yuna is currently processing a personal loss beyond words. We ask for your understanding and respect during this time. Social media exploded. Fans across the globe created memorial pages, shared Junho's iconic performances, and sent messages of love to Yuna. "Rip Junho" trended in over 30 countries. Outside SM Entertainment, flowers, candles, and handwritten letters piled higher by the hour. One fan wrote, "You taught us strength. You gave us warmth. And you loved her so gently. Never forget you." While fans mourned, so did the industry. TIN posted a photo of her and Junho backstage from 2015. Captioned simply with a broken heart emoji. Junho's 2PM bandmates released a joint letter, stating, "Junho was not just our brother on stage, but our brother in life. Our hearts are shattered. But no one's grief was more visible, more raw, than Yuna's." Days after his passing, made a private visit to Junho's memorial, held at a quiet funeral hall in Seoul. Dressed in black, she arrived without makeup, her hair tied back, her head low. Cameras respectfully kept their distance. Witnesses say she stood before his portrait for over 20 minutes in silence. Then, as if gathering the last of her strength, she placed a single white camellia and a folded letter at his side. No one knew what was inside, but someone close to her later shared what she had written. "If I had known our last call would be goodbye, I would have never hung up. You. I still do." More details about Junho's final days began to surface. According to his production crew, he had complained of chest discomfort a few days before but brushed it off, saying it was probably altitude-related. He insisted on continuing the shoot, pushing through hours of physical scenes in the alpine climate. He was passionate, almost stubborn about delivering his best. Director said, his voice cracking. The news of Junho's death sent ripples beyond Korea. Fans in Japan, the Philippines, Thailand, even France held candlelight vigils in his memory. New York's Times Square. A giant screen played a tribute video compiled by fans, clips of him dancing, smiling, acting, and looking lovingly at Yuna during the MBC Drama Awards. Back in Seoul, Yuna remained quiet. Her actions spoke volumes. A few days later, she was seen at Junho's family home, helping his mother greet mourners. Witnesses described the quiet moment when the two women held hands tightly, both crying, neither able to speak. The days that followed, fans began sharing old interviews, dissecting words and glances with newfound meaning. One clip from a variety show surfaced where Junho was asked, "If you were to spend your last day on Earth, who would you spend it with?" His answer, without hesitation, her. As part 1 draws to a close, the world still reels from the loss. Whispers of a tribute from Yuna begin to surface, something she's preparing not for the cameras, but for him. A letter. Final message. One last goodbye. The memorial ceremony for Lee Junho was held under a blanket of gray skies, as if the heavens themselves had dimmed in mourning. At the Seoul Funeral Hall, rows of white flowers lined the walkway. Somber music played gently in the background. Faces once familiar from red carpets and music shows were now pale, tear-streaked, and silent. Yet one figure stood out among them, not for her fame, for the invisible weight she carried. Yuna walked into the hall slowly, each step measured, as though any misstep might shatter her entirely. She wore a simple black hanbok, her hair tied low, and a white camellia, the same flower she had left before, clipped gently into her sleeve. As she approached Junho's portrait, those around her respectfully stepped back. This was a moment the world understood was not for them. Her hands, she held a folded piece of paper. Without saying a word, Yuna knelt before the portrait. Several seconds. Did nothing. Her lips trembled. Her hands shook. But then, softly, she began to read. Never thought I'd have to write this. Not now. Not when we were so close to everything we'd planned. The room stilled. Those nearby instinctively bowed their heads, some silently crying. Her voice, hit but unwavering, echoed through the small space as she read her goodbye letter to the man she never got to say goodbye to in life. You told me to wait for you. That you'd be back with chocolate and stories. That we'd laugh over tea and plan our next vacation. You said your heart was fine. You always said you were okay. A pause. But you weren't. And I didn't know. I should have known. She stopped reading. Her hand came to her chest, as if the pain had gripped her all over again. The manager stepped forward, but Yuna held up her hand gently and continued. They don't know about the nights we spent dreaming of a house by the ocean. They don't know about the notebook we kept, full of baby names and Sunday breakfast recipes. I do. I remember. I will always remember. Her tears began falling freely now, landing on the letter, smudging the ink. If I could give up all the spotlight, all the stages, all the screens, just to hear your voice one more time, I would. I would without hesitation. Junho, if you're watching, know this, I loved you. In silence. In public. In every way I knew how. At the time she placed the letter beneath his portrait, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. What followed in the days after became the stuff of legend. Not tabloid headlines, but human moments so real, so pure, that fans and strangers alike clung to them. A little girl who had been waiting outside the memorial hall handed Yuna a drawing she had made of Junho with angel wings. Yuna knelt, hugged her tightly, and whispered, "I'd have loved this." That simple interaction went viral. Because it was a celebrity moment, but because it reminded everyone that grief is universal, and so is love. Shortly after, SM Entertainment and JYP Entertainment released a joint statement. Not just about Junho's passing, but about the legacy he left behind. He was more than an artist. He was a light, a bridge. A man who gave joy and compassion in equal measure. Yuna, however, remained absent from all media for weeks. She turned down offers to speak. She withdrew from award ceremonies. Rumors swirled about her mental health, about whether she'd ever return to acting or singing. Some worried she might disappear entirely. But then, quietly, something beautiful happened. On the 49th day since Junho's death, traditionally marking the end of the mourning period in Korean culture, Yuna reappeared. She didn't walk into a press room or return to a drama set. Instead, She walked onto a small stage at a charity concert that Junho had planned to support for children with heart conditions. Wearing a simple white dress, she stood in front of a single microphone. "I'm not here as a celebrity today," she said. "I'm here as someone who loved Junho with all her heart." She then performed their unreleased duet, a soft ballad they had recorded in secret, intending to release it as a surprise for fans later in the year. The lyrics spoke of home, of waiting, of reunion. Though Junho was singing beside her, that performance, streamed live, was watched by over 10 million people worldwide. The nation mourned together, and, slowly, began to heal. The months that followed, Yuna launched the Lee Junho Foundation for Heart Health in his memory. The foundation provides support for youth undergoing heart surgeries, offering not only financial aid but emotional support as well. Her first donation was anonymous, reportedly her entire earnings from her latest commercial campaign. She also took to writing, publishing a deeply personal essay in a leading magazine. In it, she wrote, "He was not perfect. None of us are. But his heart, both literally and figuratively, was always too big for his body. That's what made him special." Now, when fans visit the Han River, they can find a bench engraved with Junho's name and a line from one of his favorite songs, "Even if I go first, I'll wait for you on the other side." It has become a place of quiet reflection, of candlelit vigils, of whispered goodbyes. Yuna is still healing. She may never fully recover, and maybe that's okay. Because grief, like love, doesn't end. It changes shape. It transforms. And every time she smiles now, it's a little sadder, but also stronger. Behind that smile is a story the world will never forget. We close this emotional journey. We remember Lee Junho not just for his talent, but for the way he loved, lived, and left behind a world that now carries a little piece of him in every heart.